Hey, good evening, everyone. Greetings from Michigan. This is Comrade John Wayne Cheeseburger speaking, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Ushanka Show Live. Once again, we're gonna answer any questions about life in the Soviet Union, situation in Ukraine, and so on. This is 105,000 subscribers, kind of marking that anniversary. Although I'm way behind, it's right now 109, and it's growing pretty steady, so it's pretty exciting. I see where you got a couple of guys join me. It was interesting. I just saw was four people waiting, and then went down to two. So as always, don't forget to like this stream. Maybe it will help with some promotion with YouTube, which I don't believe anymore. And please confirm that sound is good. Otherwise, I'm ready for your questions. I maybe have some answers. Maybe we'll do 30 minutes, maybe an hour. It's raining in Michigan tonight, so not much is going on. All right, so we got people. Oh, we got Australia here. Ivano, let me know what time is it right now in Australia. I think you guys like a lot of hours ahead. It's 11 a.m. on Thursday. Wow, so it's not too bad. So yeah, we got 8 p.m. here on Monday. So we got first question. What do you think about Nixon's analysis of Russia back in the 90s? If you know that, I have no idea that Nixon had any analysis. I remember recently noticing something that he predicted that Russia in the 90s, that it's just temporarily set back and they're gonna try again to become superpower. Um, I never heard anything like that, so it's a good question. It's similarly, there's a lot of predictions in the 90s that back then didn't make any sense. If you're familiar with Johar Dudayev, he was a Soviet general. I think it was in aviation. And then when Soviet Union ceased to exist, at some point he became a president of Chechnya, or they call it Republic of Ichkeria, and he predicted back in 1995, after first Chechen war, during the first Chechen war, that Russia will eventually go to Ukraine and fight Ukraine to take Crimea back and maybe take the entire Ukraine. In 1995, it sounded like just some lunatic speaking some random crap, because I could never imagine that Russia would attack Ukraine ever. And even in 2022, if you remember, I made live discussing it's not possible. I was so wrong. But anyway, so anyways, but I'm happy that if you guys let me know where you're from. I see we got DC here. So we just need someone from AC, and then we'll have a AC/DC here. But Australia is pretty cool. So it's awesome. We got Washington, Netherlands. Well, I respect your dedication, because I bet in Netherlands right now it's late night. All right. See you start catching up with your questions. And you said, once again, don't forget to like the stream. Maybe YouTube will recommend it somewhere. Although I kind of give up on this whole algorithm. It's randomly pops and then randomly disappears. So, um, to what extent did bazaars, so that's like a farmer's markets, but we call them collective farm markets, they, as a market, you are applying market economy, so prices were high enough to keep supply available. So, if the guy doesn't want to sell off all his potatoes in 2 minutes, he'll jack up price so he can sell it all day and make a good profit. Usually prices at the markets, at the bazaars, were at least double what was in the state stores. In estate stores, like usually vegetables and fruits, or they just didn't they weren't there, or they were poor quality, but they were way cheaper. So like potatoes, I think it was 10 kopecks in the store, 20, 30 kopecks at the bazaars. So yeah, that's the thing about market economy. It constantly adjusts itself, demand and supply, and with the market, with the price. So if they don't sell something and it's gonna get rotten, they will lower the price. But usually, I remember when I go there, the price is like, it's like you can't afford Especially if meat, you're talking shoot pushing prices into almost 10 ruble a kilogram for really nice meat. My parents seldomly shopped at the markets because prices were so high. We send our my father, late father, that was his job on Saturday morning and Sunday mornings to run around early morning, first thing like 7 o'clock in the morning, and try to buy sour cream milk because during the week everyone works. So in the evening, stores usually already empty. We got next question. Thoughts on the quality of Gorbachev leadership? Well, it definitely, like, I think Soviet Union was doomed, regardless, would be Gorbachev or someone else. It just he was in poor shape, and when he became a leader, uh, there's some people that knew him personally. They saying that he was saying one thing and being a nice guy, but in reality was just another, communist apparatchik. He didn't had problem lying. Some of you maybe know Bukovsky. That's one of the Soviet era dissidents. He was exchanged maybe in the 80s or late 70s, probably late 70s, for Carvalan. So there was a leader of Communist Party of Chile. So they exchanged Bukovsky for Carvalan, and Bukovsky was moved to England, and he actually became a good friend with Margaret Thatcher. And he told her that, hey, you shouldn't trust Gorbachev. He just lies like everyone else. And she didn't believe him. And then he got hands on some documents that Soviet Union, like government of Soviet Union, was helping coal miners in UK, help them to fight during that big drama uprising when Thatcher was closing coal mines. So not workers, but actually Soviet government was supplying cash. Although Gorbachev told Thatcher that he had no idea about that, but there was a signature. His signature was on document when they had a meeting and discussing that stuff. So it's but he tried. I truly appreciate his glassness. I mean, it made my life as a teenager so much more fun. It was something finally to read newspapers, books. It was just a flood of all that information, and then it's even end up with the videos. I made a video about it too. When the Hollywood started came in on pirated VCR copies, and we can finally Star Wars can watch Star Wars, all the other movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminators. So it was a lot of fun to be in that final stages of the Soviet Union, especially for me as a teenager, because suddenly there's explosion of music, foreign music, and our bands started cranking up good tunes, Kino, of course. Uh, but, um, it's a lot of it is just the way the system worked. His fiasco with the anti-alcohol campaign was pretty bad. It reminds me Khrushchev fiasco with his corn. You have maybe a good idea, but the way the system works, it always gets way out of whack, and in the result is a complete failure. So, also okay. So Netherlands, it's 2 a.m. and he's on working night shift. I hear you. I work night shifts myself. Not fun. We got Canada here. So, question again about markets. Did they sell meat, fish, and eggs? Oh, yeah. I don't remember fish, to be honest, but yeah, they sold meat. You can find pictures. There was no refrigeration. There should be a table, and pieces of meat would be laying, mostly pork. Um, so, yeah, that eggs, of course. So, yeah, they were good quality meat. But they said it was pricey. But the most expensive things on the market were goods from like Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia. So like oranges, mandarins. My goodness, they were so expensive. Usually people will buy them just if you have some sick relative in the hospital and he wants some oranges. Then you go to bazaar and it'll be like a ruble per orange. Crazy expensive. Like I'm still gobbling up raisins because I could never get. You couldn't buy raisins in the regular stores, and in the market, Georgians sold them for so much money. I don't remember the prices. I need to look it up and make a video. But man, they sell them by literally, by stakan, by the glass, they fill it up, and there'll be like a ruble per glass of raisins, and yeah. And then I don't recall fish because no one could raise fish, so the only fish you could sell is the one you catch. And I don't remember people selling fish, maybe dry fish. Okay, I wonder if we get 100 people today. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it, guys. Next question from Bailey. What do you think of the USSR strong tradition of science and engineering? The education seems more rigorous than the USA. Yes and no. Education was higher education was free, but of course, if you weren't smart enough, then you couldn't get in because you wouldn't pass initial tests, exams. Like I had to beat three other guys to get in the Kiev Polytechnical Institute. Engineering, I had mixed feelings about it. It was great engineering where the government was willing to spend money and demanded, you know, progress and development. Usually, it's the space industry and military industry. In other fields, engineering was poor. We couldn't design our own quality cars, so we had to buy Fiat and make Lada, right, Zhiguli, which was the best car you could buy in the Soviet Union, and it was outdated, extremely outdated Fiat. So, like for civilian engineering, we didn't do really well. It was just we had a really good tanks, missiles, and space industry. And I probably need to make a separate video. Like we had so many jokes about poor Soviet engineers because when you graduate out of college, first of all, they'll send you somewhere that you maybe even don't want to go, but it was your payment. You have to work somewhere for 3 years, so-called распределение, distribution. So you can get distributed somewhere in Siberia at some factory, and you work there for 3 years. So I don't know how you're going to be effective if you just want to have to stay there for 3 years as a payment. So the jokes about him, and 130 rubles a month as a junior engineer, so there was a lot of jokes about poor, broke engineers. Can't think of any humor in America who always poor. Maybe can't think of any besides white trash, right? So that we had jokes about the engineers being really broke. So, but in some fields where the government was willing to spend money, we achieved a lot similar in the United States. It's what they achieved. I don't know if you believe or not about moon exploration and Apollo program. They managed to do similar things. So, but we had way more engineers. Like we had the world record how many engineers per we had. But in the end, most industries were way behind. Quality of products were poor because like most people didn't care. Okay. Thank you so much for the question. Looks like today, everyone, a lot of curious people. Were you allowed or reprimanded for speaking Ukrainian in school? No, but I grew up Russian speaking, and all three schools that I attended in Kiev were Russian speaking schools. You have to look for Ukrainian speaking school in Kiev, capital of Ukraine. So that was one of the kind of results that they worked were slowly replacing Ukrainian language Russia. So you won't get punished for it, but though you're out of town or maybe you sound like Ukrainian and came from some boondocks, because the only person who spoke Ukrainian in our school was teacher of Ukrainian language. Otherwise, everyone I learned all the subjects in Russian, but yeah, there would be no punishment, but just peer pressure from your friends. And my friends were like 50-50 Russians and Ukrainians, but we all spoke Russian. You only could hear Ukrainian on lessons of Ukrainian language literature or on the radio, and whereas was Ukrainian radio or Ukrainian TV. Otherwise, Kiev was a Russian-speaking city. Next question from Radio Rob. Did you ever own Levi's when you were young? Oh, no way. Do you wear them now? So, great question. I think I made a video about it. I mentioned about jean situation in my first book, American Diaries 1995. It's available on sputnikov.com if you guys interested. Levi's were extremely hard to get, expensive. They had to be smuggled in. The only foreign jeans were available was Italian brands like Riorda. Um, well, Riorda turned out to be not Italian. I'm sorry, that's the ones I had. Rifle. So I believe I have a video on this topic. Let me look it up really quick. I'll put the link. But anyways, my parents bought me a pair. Okay, yeah, there's a link. Soviet jeans. Yeah, Levi's will set you back about 200 rubles when average salary was about 150 rubles a month. So picture, I don't know, if you make, let's say, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, you have to pay $6,000 for a pair of jeans, right? So ridiculously expensive. There's no way I would wear jeans. Okay, I'll put this link. So my parents bought me 400 rubles Riorda, and it turned out to be not even Italian. It looked Italian, but it was a Italian fabric, but it was made in factory in Russia, Soviet Russia at that time. And I wore them for a long time. And when they wore out, my mom patched them. Then she made shorts out of them. I don't have any more Levi's I have a pair of Levi's. My wife usually makes decisions about jeans, and it's not based on brand, but on how it looks on me. So she's like, okay, these jeans are out of style. Don't wear them anymore. Now it's a tapered leg, which I don't like. So I have one pair of Levi's, but yeah, I don't have any more like, I want Levi's. I was more kind of attached to Adidas, and slowly it kind of finally got out of my system, especially when this Gopnik culture got developed. So I'm more like a Puma guy, and for running, I do a lot of running. I found out that Salomon brand, like, they're really comfortable for me, inexpensive, and they last long. So I usually buy those for running. Comment from Cats Gaming. Thanks for making all your videos. I have learned so much about Soviet life. Thank you, appreciate it. I believe if you make notes and learn, you'll know more about Soviet Union, like, everyday life than any American professor. I'm trying to discover a lot of these little nitty gritty details that many people don't know. We got one of my viewers, Nick Adams, here. Hello, hello, Nick. Thank you for joining. Comment, love the channel. How superstitious were people in the Soviet Union? I have a video on that. Yes, we were extremely superstitious, besides not being religious. My wife, superstitious. Here we go. Most common Russian superstitions. I got a video. I'll put the link. But yeah, it's a lot of it. It's not even my parents, but it's just, for example, if you forget something, you leave house or your apartment, and then you realize you forget something, you come back to get it, it's bad luck. It means your day will be crappy. So you can cancel that bad omen by looking at yourself in the mirror. It cancels. Then, for example, if a black cat crosses the road in front of you, bad luck. But if you hold the button on your pants or your shirt while you're crossing it, you cancel that bad luck. So yeah, we had a lot. If you drink, there's that bottle of still some vodka in there. If you drink with your buddies, you never put empty bottles on the table. If the bottle becomes empty, you have to put it on the floor. If you leave it on the table for the rest of your life, you'll have empty bottles not full bottles on your table. I can go on and on. Same with, like, if you have crumbs on your table after you ate, don't use your hand. Use the paper towel or a rug, because then you're gonna be scraping breadcrumbs and eat them, so you'll be broke. A lot of it. So number 13, not as bad as the United States. We didn't skip 13th floor and stuff like that. But I'll tell you a joke while we're here. Looks like we got about 54 people joined. We had a lot of jokes about husband is away in komandirovka, like a business trip, and wife brings a boyfriend, любовник, lover. So, and then of course, husband suddenly comes back unexpectedly. It's one of my favorite joke about superstition. So, there's two in the bed, and then suddenly wife hears the key in the door, and she's like, oh crap, my husband came home early from his business trip. grab your crap and jump out of the window. It's apartment building. And the guy looks at her like, are you crazy? That's the 13th floor. And this girl, it's really bad time to be superstitious. Just jump, please jump. But 13th floor, it's don't be superstitious right now. So that was a joke. So yeah, I put did I? Okay, I didn't. So superstition, if I'll spell it correctly, stations. So yeah, bad floor. Okay. Got Levi's, all right. Oh yeah, she said she doesn't shake hands in a doorway because it's bad luck. It's actually it means you're not gonna be friends with that person because you separated. So if you stretch your hand, that person will not be your friend. It's just not a bad luck, but it's just if you want to keep friendship, you should be on the same side. Even such a things like when a person dies and you carry the body in a coffin out of the apartment, you need to carry him legs out first. And that's actually a saying that, like a lot of people saying about Putin, the only way he gonna leave Kremlin is legs first. And that means that only when he dead. So yeah, there's a lot of it. I even haven't realized another one big one that my wife constantly teases me. You shouldn't whistle in your house or your apartment. If you whistle, it's bad luck, and it's going to be whistle in your pockets. You will never have money. So that's constantly we have that issue because, and then of course, knock on wood, we have that too. So yeah, it's surprisingly, for being atheist country, people don't go to church. We were quite superstitious in many regards. Okay. Question: have you heard of Victor Jara? Victor Jara, maybe? Nope, never heard of him. Question from Michael: how do you deal with Reddit tankies? I love your post on the RUSSR. It must be thin to deal with them. I, I it's my duty. It's pretty much what it is. I'm truly horrified what's going on in this young generation because it's basically the whole topic of life in the Soviet Union becomes, like a Christianity. The image of Jesus Christ now it's a beautiful looking white man with the beard, when most likely Jesus was, looking like Arab, right? Mid Middle Eastern type of person, right? But now, if you look at any Bible, it's a white guy. So it just becomes so ridiculous. So I have to constantly post and share my experiences. And I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of hate mail. Um, they even contacted Reddit, like some concern program that I'm posting something that kind of looks like I'm about to commit suicide. So I got an email like, "Hey, this is phone 1-800. Don't kill yourself because we have some concerned Reddit people that, if, anyway." But I think it's part of my responsibility to keep people informed. And it's crazy. Like you post actual facts, which could be verified, but people just want this Soviet paradise story, And like I told some at one poster, like you guys want love, and then other group, the far right, wants hate. I'm somewhere in the middle, so I'm getting hit from both sides. They call me Soviet romanticizer, and other one that I'm Soviet hater. But yeah, it's kind of ugly, and but fortunately, a moderator on Reddit is one of my subscribers on YouTube. He loves my channel. He appreciates my work, and so he, supports my posts because I don't do some I don't BS people. I just post pictures, tell my experiences, share my stories, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm constantly getting complaints on you because they just." That you are working for CIA or blah blah blah. It's pretty interesting. But anyways, I think it needs to be done. I think there's several more people joined, and they started kind of working the same direction, kind of like, hey, this was all the other things that were happening in the Soviet Union. So it's quite a challenge, but it's okay. And I had at least one message right now. Someone was hardcore my hater, and then he said, after I watched a bunch of your videos, I want to apologize. I appreciate your efforts, and I'm now realized that I was wrong, and Soviet Union wasn't as paradise, and so at least one person, it's already was worth it. So, all right, we got first donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How was Soviet dentistry? Thank you, James, for your support. Uh, it was free. So you can't really complain, right? If you get something for free, you don't look. I don't know if you have a similar expression, like if you get a free horse, you don't check its teeth. Дареной лошади в зубы не смотрят. Quality wasn't really great. Equipment was outdated. I don't think, when they were fixing my teeth, they will put mishyak, which is like rat poison, in to kill the nerves, to disinfect. So they'll put temporarily patch with the poison inside. Then you come back a couple days later, then they do permanent patch. But I said, if it was free, it's hard to complain. Um, what was interesting, all my teeth, baby teeth, were removed by dentists. I was shocked when I found out that here in America, people, use doors or whatever, or they wait till it falls off itself. Oh no. At least my family, my mom, if I start complaining, so one of my teeth getting loose, we right away walk to the dentist. Well, dentist was in the same building with everything, all the doctors. So we had детская поликлиника. So it's like children's polyclinics, clinics, and then you had adults clinics. So you go, and they have a so-called emergency line. So people who have to do, drilling, patching teeth, it's a long line waiting. You have to always wait a couple of hours. That was a bad deal. You gotta get like a schedule that you need to be at 4, and then you might still sit until 5. But then there'll be other line, so-called emergency, and that's just if you need to have your tooth yanked. You just get in that line. They set you, just no painkillers for those. They just take plier, yank them. And I remember my worst experience was having my tooth pulled. I had one of my big ones, and still was a baby tooth. And my mom's like, "Well, it's the last one. Let's see if we should pull it out." It was solid, nothing was wrong with it. But we did X-ray, and it showed that there's a baby tooth under it. Not the baby, the new one, waiting, can get out. So she told me, "Go ahead." And I remember I sat in this chair, and the guy got his pliers. I think he did me. Yeah, he he got the shot, painkiller, to numb my gum, but it worked only when I was already on the bus going home. Then it was like this. So he kind of grabbed that tooth, kind of yank. Hold on, I need to get a bigger pliers. So I'm sitting there scared. I was maybe already 14 or 15. And I look, and he comes back from the back room, and he has this big, giant, shiny plier. And I thought I gonna pee myself in that chair, and he just went ripped all out. It was a humongous roots and oi. So yeah, that was bad. But if it's free, it's hard to complain. But I don't think you notice that a lot of Soviet people have. Well, they have a smile on the pictures. You never could see their teeth. But like dentures, all that stuff to make your teeth stretch, like here they do a lot to kids to make their teeth look perfect. We had none of that. If you have ugly teeth, you're pretty much gonna grow up with ugly teeth. And then we had, of course, culture. Some people want to show their wealth. They'll replace their healthy teeth with golden teeth just to show that their wealth is pretty wild. I don't know if I made a video about it. Let me see. I know I have the medical service. Then. No, I don't have anything on dentist. Okay. Don't have none. Okay, let's see. We got a moment with your questions. Oh, we got Lithuania here. Just building up equipment, fortification, train people slowly but surely. I need to get in touch with some people from Baltic states. maybe you can help me if you are my age, or you have parents that my age. Trying to compare what went, how the transition from socialism to capitalism occurred in Baltic states, because I'm gonna make, after I'm done with live, I need to start recording part 3 about Ukraine, what we went through after 1991, and why it was such a huge disappointment, why Ukraine economy collapsed, and I'm just curious to compare, because the next will be closest comparison, which went differently, it will be Baltic states. Next question from Smoothie. Hey, Sergey, what do you think will happen to Ukraine if Trump becomes president again? Well, I'm not sure 100% how the system works, how that military assistance, because when Trump was president, we still had military help going to Ukraine. And if you remember back then, there was a lot of argument that Trump is way better military help to Ukraine than Obama, because Obama was sending blankets and Trump was sending weapons. So back then was this whole argument that Trump will help way more Ukraine, and he did. Now we're having totally opposite conversation. I'm not sure how much president can block, because I think decision is being made in Congress about amount of help. But based on his rhetorics and how he likes Putin, Ukraine will have a harder time to get help. But in my personal opinion, Russia already lost. It's gonna continue fighting like Germany, prolonging its agony, because they never planned for real war. Um, so Putin wants to stay in power, because if he will pull out, it's the end of him. So it's just, I don't know what he's hoping for, because obviously the majority of Ukrainians don't want Russians. So even if Russia managed to occupy the entire country, which is size of Texas, population 40 million or something like that, to have that type of country with population that not like you, so we'll put it that way, it's kind of like what probably would be not as bad as when Soviet Union or United States occupied Afghanistan. But to keep this size of the country and that population under occupation, it's impossible, because you need to have there's a math. They've calculated how many troops you need per 1,000 population to keep country under control. That means that they have to have full time, I remember the number, 3 million Russian soldiers should be stationed permanently to keep the lead on Ukraine. So I don't think it will definitely make situation worse, but I don't think Ukraine will, defenses will collapse. Hopefully, there'll be other countries in Europe will help him. But I believe that Trump won't become president. I think he's gonna lose. I predicted in 2016 that Trump gonna win, and he did. I predicted that Biden gonna win in 20. Biden won. And I think mostly because, I mean, unfortunately, we have 50%. There's a people that vote Democrat regardless who is the candidate. There's a people who vote the Republican regardless who is candidate. Pretty much, the whole decision making is to the small group that goes either this way or that way. That look at the candidate, not at the party. And of course, swing states, that's ridiculous too. I think they should change the system. And what I would do, I think there's 2 states, right? It's a Hampshire and I forgot another one, that you get votes from that state based on the percentage. So, because there's a liberal state that pretty much anyone who is a right wing, Republican, almost makes no sense to vote, because that, like Illinois, will always vote blue. And it's because of Chicago, right? California will always vote blue, although Northern California kind of more traditional Republican. How so? What the point to go and vote if that state's gonna vote blue or red states? And I think people will be more involved and will be more voting if the percentage. If your state has 2 votes, whatever they call it, and one will get 3 and one will get 7. Now it's more interesting in to vote. So next question: how was social science in the USSR? Not that great. I need to make a video about it. We only studied social science in the 10th, in the ninth grade or 10th grade, so like high school, just 1 year, and that was pretty much all about socialism and communism. Why is it better than capitalism? So not much. It's one of the things tankies constantly slap me because I'm really weak in theory. Like they want to discuss some Marxism, Leninism theories. Like, dude, they didn't taught us this, didn't teach us that stuff in school. I know some basics, and actually, I subscribe to dialectical materialism theory that we change like humans, like a civilization, like society, as our means of production improve. We move from one stage to another. So at some point slavery didn't make sense, not because we became nicer to each other, like, oh, we don't want slaves anymore. No, it was not economically profitable. It was more profitable to go next stage and have with the feudals next. Then capitalism grew out of industrial revolution. Once again, means of production and productivity improved. So technically, there's possibility that when our means of production keep on improving, at some point we're going to reach communism. Actually, if you watched the Elon Musk and his presentation recently, the robot car and all that stuff, he basically was talking about communism. He's like, "Hey, we're making these robots, um, and they'll be doing all the heavy work, and then we have everything of plenty, and you don't have to work. Just enjoy life." I'm like, "Yeah, look at this, the richest guy in the world talking about communism. I can't believe this. That we're gonna have robots doing all the bad jobs, and we can just chillax." So yeah, question: what is your opinion of Zelensky? Slava Ukraini, Героям Slava. I have mixed feelings about him. I made a couple videos on him. Is definitely, I was impressed uh, in the beginning of the war in 2022 that he didn't pack his bags and run away. He actually stood his ground. Um, he somewhat reminds me Reagan because both were professional actors, so he knows how to play the role of good president. He still could be well shaven and wear a suit, but he prefers to wear military kind of basic clothing, t-shirts, and be unshaved and looks like he started working out because he kind of bulked up. So they have this image of the war president and the war Ukraine. um, it's up to Ukrainians. I think he's doing a good job in his position. Of course, a lot of Ukrainians not happy. I think like 57% supports him, 37 against him. Could he do a better job? I don't know. A lot of it is just, I was constantly telling my Ukrainian friends because they complain that, America doesn't help us enough. I'm like, well, you should understand, you know, America helps other countries if they have reasons for it. Like Israel, look at like right away. When the problems in Israel started and war against Hezbollah, there was two air carriers. Air carriers group showed up right away in Mediterranean. Weapons started flowing right away. And they didn't have to fly to Washington and beg for help. So Israel is an extremely important strategic partner for United States. I don't know why. But so you see how the United States help in Israel versus how they help Ukraine. So you could tell Ukraine is not their priority. It was never was a priority. All right, moving along. And actually, if you're interested, I'll put the link. I had my latest. I was a captain, I think. Yeah, I have a video how Volodymyr Zelensky became captain Ukraine. So if you missed that, I'll post the link right here. Zelensky. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, asking questions. I didn't expect we got such a good crowd, but we got 60, 70 people watching, 45 likes. If you just joined me, don't forget to like this stream. So Zelensky video link is below. The next question: what do you think? Let's see. A question: why do you think the USSR can make their own car engine and chassis and make their own cars? Uh, Comrade Stalin set up the Soviet industry as a military industry. Our entire industry was military. Like, we produced civilian products as a side products. It's pretty much like, I think I made about a video about it a little bit. Like, factory down south in Ukraine, Yuzhmash, they were making like missiles, like nuclear missiles, not the nuclear part, but entire missile engines. And then they were requested that 10% of your product should be civilians that are making bicycles. So the company that makes really good rockets, I don't think they can make really good bicycles. It's just like a side product. Another factory in Kiev, in my hometown, they were making Mayak, it was called. Their main job was making audio recording equipment for military, and the side product they're making cassette players where it were crappy quality. But still, you have to buy them because there was nothing else available. So it was just the entire country. That's one of the problems with our economy. Why is that collapsed so much? Like, we all worked for war. In 1990s, there was a Kharkiv has a big tank factory, Malyshev, I think the name after Malyshev. They were making like 400 tanks a year in the 90s. Like, they were making more tanks than the entire world would need per year, one factory. So it was just the industrialization was actually militarization. So that's the thing. It's just the main problem. We had basically Soviet Union was always getting ready for war. Like, look how many tanks Ukrainians burned, Russian tanks, and Russia keep on pulling more out of storage. They never destroyed any old tanks. They just put them in the storage just in case. Okay, we got donation and question from Rock. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. What was foreign tourism like in Soviet Union? What was like for the Westerner to visit USSR? And did you ever meet one when you were there? Well, I lived in Kiev, so we didn't have many. We started having some towards the 90s and after Soviet Union disappeared. I remember one time I didn't have a chance to talk to them, but I met them downtown Kiev. It was bizarre to see old people, like it was some American grandmas, and they wore this silly hats that had a lot of badges on it. I guess it was kind of tradition. Like, I visit a new town or country, I put the badge on my head. I thought it was looking quite stupid, but I never had a chance to talk to them. The only people who deal with foreign tourists were fartsovщики. So that's people who are trying to buy jeans of them or other goods and try to buy their currency, their dollars. So I honestly am not sure if foreigners enjoyed much. There's some people shared their memories, but you could make good money if you travel on business and you bring jeans with you. You could sell them for good profit and then take home like black caviar. There was a lot of that going on. But if you trade your currency for the official rate of exchange was 60 kopecks for a dollar, then everything will look really expensive in Berezka stores. And I don't know how much that tourism was developed, but I posted slides. My distant relative, Uncle Bill, he actually went to Soviet Union in the 80s, and they travel all over, like Moscow, Leningrad, and then down south, Baikal, Lake Baikal. And if you didn't see that video, I'll put it that uh, I personally never met anyone in the Soviet Union. I had a chance to meet people. Okay, right here, yeah. Meet people only in independent Ukraine because that's more exploded tourism. I'll do Lake Baikal here. It's a slideshow of American tourists and it's from 80s. It's pretty cool. So that'll be a link coming up right here. And there's a really good TV show about the fartsovщики, how they like interact with foreign tourists. And I think also like prostitution that's pretty much developed when the girls were selling their hard bodies for hard currency. The question: if the tanks were so good, why did it get so destroyed in the war? Well, it's drones. No one designed tanks that could withstand drones. They put thick armor for conventional war, and drones completely changed the whole picture. I mean, it's not just the Soviet, Russian tanks burn. Uh, Russian drones destroyed German tanks. I don't know about American Abrams, but this is the whole thing. This is why I'm telling my American people, friends, and co-workers that you don't understand. People who complain that we are sending so much money to Ukraine. First of all, you don't send money; you send military help. Money stay in America, but I don't know how would you what is the value of what the United States right now learning about modern war, because what they see what's going on in Ukraine, it's completely changing the whole strategy. Already US Marines are looking for the options to drones, anti-drone defenses. So what American military learns right now without spilling blood, without fighting Russia face to face, I don't know, it's worth millions or billions, because that's the American life saved next military conflict. I hope it won't happen, but America would get caught with their pants down just like Russians did. It's just Ukrainians are quite inventive. They got some of the what is it, Blade Runner or something. There was actually American idea to have a attack drone, and Ukrainians look at it like, why it's cost like I don't know how many $1,000. We can just take a Chinese drone, attach RPG head, and go, and it became like literally a military revolution. So it just tanks were not designed for that type of war. That's why they started adding all the crap above. Similarly, like Soviet tanks, when the Germans came up with Panzerfaust, another thing. So it's technology is changing, and it's pretty much tanks are becoming obsolete. They just became instead of weapons of attack, it's just a mobile artillery. They hide, they come out, they do a couple of shoots, and they hide again because drones just get in them really easily until they come up with something. We got Adonis. Hello, Sergey, big fan. Thank you so much. Question again from David. Did people get fat in the USSR? Well, when we when people got retired, especially women, they definitely would get bigger, because first of all, you're retired, so you move less, and a lot of people, I mean, they didn't get big pensions. So I mentioned many times that Soviet Union was comfortable place to be poor. Like in America, it's not comfortable to be poor because you constantly worry about losing your house, or not have enough money to pay rent, get kicked out. We don't have that worry. But I'm gonna make a video. I finally realized what was the problem, why Soviet workers were drinking so much, like why we're stealing so much. Everything else except housing was so expensive that when we have pension, a lot of people only could afford bread and potatoes and some other cheap goods. So the diet was really poor, high on carb, and they stopped moving because they don't have to go to work every day and walk around. So it was quite a few women, in their 60s that will go kaboom, because there's some really silly looking pictures. They go on the beach, and there's some big girls like wearing, not bikini but pretty small bathing suits, and so that's when you usually will get on the chubby side when you retire. But then, of course, like my grandparents in the village, they still have to work on the garden and chop wood, so those people stayed skinny through life. But I'll tell you right away, because I live in the United States since 2000, 1999 to be exact, and I come to Ukraine, so often. And over the years, I started noticing that people were getting bigger, like even younger people, especially girls, because I pay more attention to ladies than guys. It's just like I remember I went, I don't know, it was like dentist or something. I wasn't for some reason I went to clinics, but in Ukraine, I don't know why I have glasses. I don't remember why, but anyways, so there was this pretty lady there, nurse or someone, but I could see there's little spare tires showing up, and she's like in her early 30s. It's like, wow, I don't remember seeing spare tires on women before, in Ukraine, but now, people have cars, so they walk less, they drive more, because we got all the unhealthy food showed up, snacks, chips, pizzas, McDonald's. So people eat way more unhealthy, they walk way less. So yeah, people are getting bigger now, unfortunately. Another question: what are your experience with Adidas trekking wearing? I never had Adidas when I was in Soviet Union. It was a short supply. You couldn't just go and buy it. So my very first Adidas shoes, I got it in 1996 in America when I was 25. That was my very first pair. Then I got an Adidas T-shirt, and then I think in '98 I bought some. It was not real Adidas, but it had three stripes in a bazaar in Ukraine. But I never had Adidas when I was in the Soviet Union. It was really impossible. It was hard to get. You had to know people. And I shared the story. There's only Adidas shoes you could buy at the store, and it's once again it's the Soviet economy, planned economy. They sold Adidas country skiing shoes. I don't know if you know what those are. It's a completely like stiff shoe. Like the only part is moving is the nose. So you have your shoe and the nose sticking out like that. So this is where you attach your shoe to the ski, and that's the only flap that moves. The rest of the outsole is like hard as the wood. But it was Adidas brand, so people will buy them ski shoes. They will cut that nose off and they walk around. Hey, look, I'm wearing Adidas, but they were just so uncomfortable because literally like like wearing this hard like wooden shoe. So that's the only I remember seeing people like, damn, dude, you're desperate. Okay, I wonder if we can get to 100 likes. I know people coming in and out, but we're 72. Not too bad today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm the only one who pushed the like button. Well, we had 61 likes, 62 now. So thank you so much. Unfortunately, I have to remind people to like the videos and all that stuff because people, for some reason, forget. There's a comment. Hi, Sergey. I love the even KGB makes mistakes. I watched that several times. Several times, 10 for sure. Wow. Well, thank you so much. That was a long time ago. Yeah. I still got that old NKVD files. Like I need to go through them and finish. And actually, speaking again about cars, a lot of people who like think Soviet Union actually did smart thing instead of developing its own cars. Like, why would you waste resources, which we can use to build bigger tanks, and we can just buy the whole thing, factory and technology, and start making cars? But the problem, no one would sell you brand new technology. Usually, just like Ford sold uh, the whole factory to the Soviets in 1930, he was about to scrap all that because he was going to the next model, right? I'm not in the car, not really a car not to tell you what exactly models, but and then Soviets like, oh, buy it from you. So he made great money selling old equipment that was becoming obsolete, and Soviets were making those trucks for another 20 or 30 years. And I believe there's some still Ford equipment still at that factory in Gaz factory in Nizhny Novgorod. Same with Fiat. They were designing new model, so they sold the Soviets their old equipment and put brand new one for the next model. So you're buying last generation, and then the main problem, you don't have engineers who know how to develop cars, right? Like in the United States, you constantly make new models. You have the whole group of engineers that thinking about what to do next. You don't have it. You have engineers who maybe figure out, why we have a left wheel constantly getting loose. We need to change something there, or so they can do some tuning modifications, but they don't know how to develop the entire model from scratch because it's not there. Holy smokes, guys! I have someone who feels extremely generous today. Thank you so much, Joe Wall. $75 donation. I think it's one of the biggest I ever got. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is really nice of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for a long playlist and mix of videos that alternate between hardship and humor. My dad loves listening to your videos with me when he's in a truck with me. Oh, that's cool. So you're listening like a podcast. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll need to remember to look through my old videos and bundle together into this Ushanka digest format because there's a lot of them. We kind of have similar topics. But yes, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Thank you for your generosity. This is really kind of you. It's bringing memories when I came to the United States for the very first time in 1995. Speaking of Adidas, right? Adidas. There's that shirt I bought, the Elder Beermans, and this Adidas jacket. Uh, my salary was $20 a month back in Ukraine as a young junior engineer, and now I can, people just boom, $75. Of course, $20 in 1995, it's a little bit different. But I'm glad that you like my stories. And I said, my next project, my next video will be trying to analyze what went wrong in Ukraine after it became independent. All right. Next question: how did you learn foreign languages in Soviet Union? For example, did the Goethe Institute, German Language Institute, operate in the USSR too? I don't know about that. Usually, we learned the language of our potential enemies. So my mother grew up learning German. I'm not sure what was before World War II or Great Patriotic War, but for a while after was still German language was main. In some schools they taught English and French, but then sometimes I guess maybe in 60s or 70s most schools switched to teaching English because they needed people who could interrogate American POWs when Soviet Union will land its troops on the shores of United States. And you've seen that movie, right? Red Dawn. Just kidding. So yeah, from the fourth grade, I started learning English, and I always had excellent grades. I didn't learn much, but then when Soviet Union disappeared, and I realized that I probably need to get going again on the language because now foreign companies probably would come to Ukraine. And if I have my diploma of electrical engineer and good English, I could get a good job at Motorola or some others. So that's when I began corresponding, with people, writing letters in English. And I had mostly girls all over the world, United States, Switzerland, UK, Portugal. So I did a lot, and it helped me to get into exchange program and come to work in a summer camp once again. United States is because I learned English by myself, and I had it good enough to pass the interview. Although it still was a challenge when I came. Hey, we got 77 viewers and 77 likes. That's pretty cool. So when I came to America first time in '95, I discovered that although my English was good, I learned it, books and writing, not speaking. And it's like if you learn how to drive car with a manual transmission by book, and then they put you in the car, it's all different experience. So it took me about 3 months to get speaking, talking in English, better. And of course, I work in a summer camp for inner city kids from Chicago, and it's a totally different English language, right? Ebonics. So that was just like I couldn't understand at all what they're talking. And then I realized the people from Australia had a hard time understanding either, so I felt better. So yeah. All right. Ethan said, thank you for answering my question. Link, no problem. Okay, we got else. So we got comments about Lithuania. Her economy teacher said at some point Soviet USSR gender quotas were stated. She finished programming studies on those massive old computers, still couldn't program worth anything. I started studying, I think I was studying Fortran in school. My class was first when they started actually teaching computers, informatica, they call it, information technologies, I guess. But unfortunately, I didn't didn't succeed. I kind of liked it, but I let it go. There was one kid in my class, was a Jewish boy. He got like that, and I honestly thought that he probably immigrated to the United States and just some multimillionaire in Silicon Valley. I finally looked him up on Facebook, and he never moved out of Ukraine. He's in programming, but traveled all over the world, so I guess he did okay. But I thought he'd be like, Sergey Brin, if you're familiar with Sergey Brin. It's a co-founder of Google. His parents came from Moscow, and he one of the richest guys in the world. A question from David: Are the political ads crazy in your state? Oh yeah, I save them. Maybe it'll be my retirement. I'll sell them many years later because some of it is like Uh, Donald now tells people you need to vote earlier, well, absentee, when he just yelled 4 years ago that election were stolen. Oh yeah, so mostly we got a lot of stuff from Donald Trump. Not many from Democrats, but some of it. So yeah, I collect all that. It's a lot of trees being chopped down to. And I find it interesting that also Donald Trump now is like, I'm protecting Social Security. So it's like Social Security is pretty much the most socialist program that I'm even shocked how that was possible to introduce to America in America. But now even Republican president says, I will protect your Social Security. I told my Republican in Congress never touch Social Security. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, we got don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So you guys have similar expression, but yeah, we say "Дареная лошадь в зубы не смотрит." You don't look at the teeth. Because kind of saying the mouth doesn't explain, but I guess you could judge the health and age of the horse by its teeth. We got here some conversation about soda, but not me. So back to the topic of helping Ukraine, that Trump was first to send to Ukraine javelins. I think, as I said once again, I don't know how the whole system works, but it's pretty much similar when the United States was helping Afghanistan, Mujahideens fighting Soviets. It didn't send them right away Stingray, right? Um, Missiles. It only started showing up like 1984, 86. So similarly with Ukraine, you just don't give everything right away, and then because what happened disaster when the United States left Afghanistan, they probably had similar concern that you give some serious weapons to Ukrainians, and next day they're gonna turn up to be in Russian hands. So I'm not sure who makes decisions because I don't think Donald Trump was aware of javelins at all when he became president. So there's the people who work on this project, who talk to Ukrainians, who make decisions. Unfortunately, it takes forever, and a lot of Ukrainians died. But it's just it is the way it is. And I told my Ukrainian friends, United States will never risk nuclear exchange for Ukraine. So they won't just go and help, like they did a Operation Desert Storm or anything like that. It's not going to happen. Question: Did you know any Tatars or Chechens? Not personally. We had some Chechens in Kiev, not as bad. They were on the bazaars selling flowers. That was kind of big business for them. Gvozdiki. I'm not sure how it's in English, but and I don't know anybody personally. The only other nationality that I knew pretty well was an Armenian kid who was in my class. But otherwise, yeah, we were pretty much all white. Let's put it that way. Although I got told my story, I think it was '95. I learned that at camp, the black counselors from Chicago, they didn't think I was white. They just like, he's Russian. That was interesting. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, also, I want to say thank you to Church of Bacon. He got $5 donation. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Looks like you have no question. Let's see. Thank you, Jeff, for your support. Why do Russians get so bent of shape over Stepan Bandera? Um, I'm planning to make a video about it, and like I mentioned earlier, they just picked him as the main boogeyman because Ukraine had way more people fighting for Ukraine independence, but decision was made. Okay, we'll just pick this guy because some of them, Soviet and KVD managed to kill like pretty quick, even before the beginning of World War II. And when Germany attacked Soviet Union, there was already Ukrainians started fighting when in 1939 Soviet Union occupied parts of Poland. They killed the main leader of Ukrainian nationalist movement. I think he was somewhere in France. I forgot the name. So they already were fighting Ukrainian independence movement way before Stepan Bandera became main character. And then, of course, besides Stepan Bandera was Melnik because OUN split. There was another guy, was UPA, Ukrainian Rebels Army. But it's just too many bad guys. So let's just pick one, and let's just they started pounding. So even because if you think about it, Stepan Bandera spent most of the war in the concentration camp. Of course, it was need to be mentioned. It was a VIP part of the camp. The same camp was Stalin's son was there too, and Stepan Bandera refused to cooperate with Germans at that time. His brother got killed by Germans, but they just decided to make the boogeyman out of Stepan Bandera. And of course, because Bandera, see, they lasted the longest fighting Soviet occupation of Ukraine. I mean, into 1950s, that was huge movement, and it's really scared the Soviet government, Stalin, and later on, because it's just not just people in the forest. There was the whole region, civilians and everyone was fighting. And then of course when they sent a bunch of Bandera fighters into Siberian labor camps, to Gulag camps, they had a lot of uprisings there. They actually really caused a lot of troubles in those camps. Even Alexander Solzhenitsyn mentions them in his book, Archipelago Gulag, that when Ukrainian nationalists showed up, it was pretty much like a fresh blood. And he said, we were just already spent, like pretty much being worked to death. And these guys were just started um, causing trouble. They were young, they were full of, energy and aggressive, and they had uprising, they were killing snitches. So, yeah, all that, it's a long history. So I think that's the main reason. Next question. Let's see. Could you explain of what you remember of the Indian-Soviet friendship? Uh, I don't know about Indian socialists, but I have a video on that topic. We loved your movies. If you're from India, we love your Indian tea and coffee. Indian movies, of course, were. They have a video called USSR and India. So things that Soviet people liked so much. So yeah. Your movies are a big deal. So I put the video link right here, India. And I never heard of anything about Indian socialists, but there was a lot of trading. You guys were buying our weapons, and we were buying your movies. And I think we even had maybe Indian cigarettes. I don't remember. I don't smoke. Good question from Lucas. Was there really full employment in the Soviet Union? A while back, I did a video about Perestroika brochure that one of my subscribers sent me from Florida. I think Matthew. And one of the scientists there admitted that we have 15%, like every factory has 15% of workers they don't need. So yes, we had full employment, because it was illegal not to be employed. So you have to be somewhere registered at least. Maybe you don't want to work there, but you still need to be on books. Uh, but it sounds like official unemployment rate unofficial was 15%. But in order to keep everyone busy, they pretty much everyone was had a job. We got Quebec here. Here in Quebec, we have public-owned companies like Hydro Quebec. So it's a nationalized electrical industry. It really helps to pay the cost of public services. What is your view of the kind of companies? Well, electrical company, you see, with electricity, it's interesting. It's you can really have a capitalism, competitive in electric market because you cannot make not enough or too much electricity. It gotta be exactly matching with demand. So that's why a lot of in America the same. There's a lot of regulated power grids and regulated power plants. They may be not public, although we have, I believe, like Tennessee Valley Authority. There's a lot of hydro plants that belong to the government, Corps of Engineers, TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. They got coal plants, nuclear plants. So there's a lot of power companies in Soviet Union. In the United States also government owned. I won't say public owned, but at least government owned or state owned. In a lot of markets, there's a private companies, but they're in regulated markets, which means they cannot charge what they want to. There's agreement, you get 10% profit margin, and if you plant, trips for some reason, some issues, will pay you that rate just like you still work, but so you can fix your equipment. So it's just that specific industry is it usually you can't have just making new power plants and try to bring costs down. It doesn't work that way because grid requires exactly the same amount of electricity based on demand. So it's there's some industry that capitalism doesn't work. So there's another comment about geography. It's not about geography. It's just there's it's just the way the market is. And it's basically I see a lot of the what the small businesses, the capitalism does better. Like governments and generally can have like a big projects done, right? And then all the little cracks get filled by private companies, so you have a solid wall. Soviet Union just had these giant blocks, and then was just holes everywhere. So sure, we went to space first. We beat America going to space, but then my grandparents all their lives had to use newspaper to wipe their butts in an outhouse because they had no toilet paper available in their stores, and there was nothing to buy to install plumbing. So you sit in an outhouse, you could see your space station crossing the sky at night. Maybe it's nice view out of your outhouse, but like that was a big failure and a Soviet system, socialist system that supposedly took care of people, but it just made everyone really poor but equal. Okay, well, we're about an hour, so I'll be wrapping up, guys. I gotta go to work tomorrow, but let me answer two more questions. So, another comment from Church of Bacon: the value is not just what U.S. Military learns. The U.S. gotten billions of dollars in orders for equipment from just about every part in country in the world. Yeah, right now I think even Turkey considers selling to United States the Russians those 400 systems, air defense systems, in exchange to buy American fighter jets. So yeah, this war really upended the whole world market because pretty much world realized that Russian military equipment is not good quality, and like Patriot systems, javelins, a lot of these things, like actually everyone wants to buy them. So I honestly, like, it's frustrating how many Americans is thinking it's just a waste of money. On the big picture and big run, it's a huge benefit to United States and especially United States military, and they're learning how to fight modern wars without spilling blood. It's I think it's extremely great for them. I mean, I wish we didn't have that problem, but it is what it is. Okay, so question from Andrew. Were there any bookstores that featured Western magazine, newspapers, and books? No. Only towards Perestroika we started getting Western magazines. I got really addicted to Omni magazine. I don't know if anyone remembers Omni, OMNI. Oh man, if I'll snatch the issue, that was just like different world. That's when I fell in love with a Toyota Previa minivan. Ended up finally getting one a long time ago. All right, let's see. Joe Wall coming again. Dude, I donated like 200 to you a few months ago. LOL. I love your work. Thank you so much. I think I'm tracking everyone who gives me a super thanks, so I truly appreciate it. Uh, and a question about $20 a month. So my salary, well, at that time, the currency exchange was such that my salary was $20 a month if you buy dollars. So that's 1995. So yes, it's after collapse of the Soviet Union. But of course, you can buy way more stuff for $20 in Ukraine back then. So that was a lot of money. All right. Okay, guys. Well, I'll be wrapping up. Thank you so much for joining tonight. We didn't get to 100 viewers, but still was fun. I hope I can answer most of your questions. We even have Buenos Aires here, so that's cool. I appreciate that. So, all right, one more question. Did the Soviet Union take care of the veterans from World War II and later Afghanistan? Not really. It was problems. Well, they did a little bit better for veterans of Afghanistan, but you probably missed my video about World War II handicap veterans because that was bad. So I have a long video on this topic for disability. So you can watch it because that's a good topic to learn. All right. Okay, guys. So once again, thank you so much for joining tonight. Let me see if we can get to 100 likes. We need 10 more. Okay, let's do 10 more likes. I'll do a couple more questions. We'll start from the bottom. 91. 9 more. See if we can do it. Otherwise, we'll be right back. Did the average Soviet